public inquiry into a contaminated blood scandal described as the worst treatment disaster in NHS history opens today.
Thousands of patients that had transfusions in the 1970s and 1980s were given blood products from overseas infected with hepatitis C and HIV. At least 2,400 people have died as a result. Our health correspondent Catherine Burns reports.
It was supposed to keep them alive, but for many it was a death sentence. Thousands of people were infected with HIV and hepatitis C after getting contaminated blood. It's impossible to know how many people were infected by transfusions during surgery or childbirth, and thousands of haemophiliacs received contaminated blood too. There weren't enough supplies in the UK, so some was imported from America, from paid donors and prison inmates.
He just was an incredibly brave man.
Barbara Scott's husband Ronald had haemophilia and contracted HIV. He died a few days after his 50th birthday.
It feels like, you know, you've kind of dragged your children up as best you can, and that in many ways, you know, the state is indifferent to the plight of these people.
There was a privately funded review in 2009, but it had no official status. In 2015, families dismissed a Scottish inquiry as a whitewash. Now, after years of campaigning, this inquiry will be led by a judge and will be able to compel witnesses to give testimony. The key questions are, when did authorities know about the risks, and did they act quickly enough on that information? Catherine Burns, BBC News.
Now, in the 1970s and 1980s, thousands of people became ill after being treated with contaminated blood products from abroad, infected with HIV and hepatitis C. It's been described as the worst, or one of the worst scandals in the history of our NHS.
And today, more than 40 years later, victims and their families hope an inquiry will finally answer some of their questions about what went wrong. Mark Ward, a campaigner who was infected by contaminated blood, joins us from our London newsroom now. Morning to you, Mark. Thanks so much for talking to us. Just tell us a little bit about your story first, and when you first knew that you had been infected by this blood.
Good morning. I was born with severe haemophilia, so when I was diagnosed with the condition at age 3, that's when the treatment started. So every injection, it isn't, with haemophiliacs we don't have blood transfusions, we have blood products, and you can imagine a 3-year-old little boy, when he's crawling and starting to walk and bumping into things, you need treatment almost on an every other day basis. Plus I used to have nosebleeds as well. So right from the word go, pathogens and contaminants that were known to be in the blood products, I was infected from the word go. And it wasn't until later on, when I was 14, being discharged from hospital, that my parents were told I had HIV.
Right, and that must have, already you were dealing with really challenging issues, and that must have been devastating for them as well as you.
Exactly. When any parents, if they're told their baby's going to die, you know, 14 years old or not, I was told I probably wouldn't live long enough to leave school.
So how are you now?
Well, I'm sitting here, so I must be doing something right. I take a lot of medication, and that medication literally keeps me alive. My haemophilia, because it being a degenerative condition anyway, my joints are disintegrating. I will never improve. I'm getting worse. I'm needing more surgery now to help with some of the joints, like both ankles are fused, my left knee has been replaced. I'm turning into a bionic man gradually.
Oh, it's lovely that you are able to speak to us. Let's talk about the inquiry as well, and ahead of the inquiry, because I know so many people have been waiting so long for this. How are you feeling?
I've got mixed emotions really, because we've been betrayed so many times in the past, and I know that's a strong word, but it is. We've sort of been paid lip service for many years. I've met with Sir Brian, and I have faith in him. I do believe he is a man of honour, and everything that he has said so far he has listened to. And I do believe that he wants to get to the truth. He wants to give us what we've been calling for all of these decades.
And the truth will help you?
Yes, it will. It will. But for me personally, by knowing the truth means that we can then act on that truth to protect the future generations. I can't be uninfected. So for me, this isn't about money. This isn't about glory. This is about using the information that we can gain, put it with what we know today to protect those that haven't even been born yet.
Right, and I know over the years that many of you have come to know each other, and how is the group coping going ahead of this inquiry?
I was with a group of fantastic people, some of the survivors from Trelaw's school last night, and it's real camaraderie, because although it's very dark, and of course we are talking about tragic events here. I mean, if I could put it into some kind of scale, my passion is commercial aviation, and I explain it to people that if a plane dropped out of the sky, there is immediately protocols set in place to forensically identify what that problem was and correct it so it can never happen again. We've never had that. So when you're meeting with people you've known for a number of years, and gradually the group is getting smaller, that bond does tend to get stronger with each meeting, and you support each other.
Well, listen, best of luck as you listen to that inquiry. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us. And Mark Ward, thanks for your time today. And let me just, we've had a statement from a government spokesperson as well, which says the infected blood inquiry is a priority for the government. It's extremely important that all those that have suffered so terribly can get the answers they've spent decades waiting for, and lessons can be learnt so that a tragedy of this scale can never happen again.